In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. Albert Camus. Picture this. It's late evening and the soft glow of your phone screen illuminates your face in the dim room. As you scroll through your social media feed, you're bombarded with images and stories of acquaintances, friends, and even strangers having the time of their lives. Parties, vacations, gatherings, each post a colorful testament to the fun they're having without you. With each swipe, a subtle weight settles in your chest, a nagging feeling that somehow, amidst your ordinary day, life is happening elsewhere and you're missing out on it. This phenomenon has a name, one that's become all too familiar in our digital age: FOMO, or the fear of missing out. It's the anxiety that stirs within us when we see someone else experiencing something we're not, fueled by the endless showcase of life's highlight reels on social media platforms. This fear isn't just about social events. It extends to experiences, achievements, and lifestyles. It's the dread of falling behind, of not living to the fullest, of missing opportunities that everyone else seems to be seizing. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if, in our relentless pursuit of being everywhere, doing everything, we're missing out on something far more valuable? This is where we flip the script on FOMO, turning our gaze inward to the hidden treasure of JOMO, or the joy of missing out. It's not about isolating oneself or shunning society. It's about embracing solitude and finding contentment and joy in being alone with oneself. It's about recognizing that missing out, intentionally, can be a path to personal growth, deeper self-awareness, and ultimately, a more fulfilling life. This concept takes us back to the essence of what it means to be truly alive. It's about quality, not quantity, of experiences, relationships, and moments. It's about slowing down, disconnecting from the incessant buzz of the digital world, and reconnecting with our inner selves. In solitude, we find space to breathe, to think, to feel deeply. We discover parts of ourselves that remain hidden in the noise of constant social engagement. Solitude allows for reflection, creativity, and a deeper appreciation for the moments and people that truly matter. In today's society, where the pressure to be socially active and constantly connected is immense, choosing solitude and the joy of missing out is a radical act. It's a declaration that we are enough, that our worth isn't measured by how full our social calendars are, or how many experiences we can cram into our lives. Instead, it's measured by the depth of our experiences, the quality of our connections, and our ability to find peace and happiness within ourselves. This transition towards embracing this idea isn't just a personal journey, it's a cultural shift. It's about changing the narrative from one of scarcity, of constantly needing more to be happy, to one of abundance, where we recognize the wealth of joy available in each moment we choose to be present for. It's a shift from seeking happiness in external validation to finding it in internal fulfillment. We'll explore the philosophical underpinnings of solitude, the benefits of embracing alone time, and practical ways to incorporate it into our lives. We'll look at how detaching from the digital world through regular digital detoxes can enhance our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. We'll discover how, by reclaiming our time and attention, we can lead richer, more intentional lives. The journey from FOMO to JOMO is not about renouncing the world, but about engaging with it more meaningfully. It's about choosing experiences that resonate with our deepest selves, rather than chasing every opportunity that comes our way. It's about finding joy in the path less traveled, the quiet moments and the space between. To understand the phenomenon of FOMO, or the fear of missing out, we must delve into its psychological underpinnings. FOMO is rooted in several core psychological triggers: social anxiety, comparison, and a pervasive sense of lacking or insufficiency. These elements, combined with the unique pressures of modern life, create a fertile ground for FOMO to flourish. Social anxiety in this context is not merely about the fear of social interactions, but extends to a broader worry about one's place within their social circle and the world at large. It's the fear that by not participating in certain activities or events, one might lose connection with their peers or fall out of sync with what is perceived as the social norm. This form of anxiety feeds into the fear that one's social bonds may weaken or that they'll be perceived as less interesting or engaging by their peers. The comparison is another critical factor. Humans by nature have a tendency to measure their lives against those of others. This instinct, while not inherently negative, can lead to feelings of inadequacy when fueled by the endless barrage of curated success and happiness seen on social media. The digital age has transformed comparison from a sporadic and mostly manageable experience into a constant, overwhelming presence. Every scroll through social media feeds presents a new opportunity to measure one's life against others, often leading to the mistaken belief that everyone else is leading a more exciting, fulfilling life. A sense of lacking or insufficiency emerges as the inevitable consequence of social anxiety and constant comparison. It's the feeling that one's life is somehow incomplete or deficient compared to others. This sense of lacking drives the pursuit of more experiences, more social connections, more achievements. Yet this pursuit often leads not to fulfillment but to a deeper feeling of emptiness, as the root cause is not a genuine desire for these experiences, but a fear of being left out or behind. Modern technology, particularly social media, plays a significant role in amplifying these feelings of missing out. The platforms are designed to keep users engaged, feeding them a constant stream of content that highlights the most exciting aspects of people's lives. Rarely do people share the mundane, the difficult, or the unglamorous aspects of their lives on these platforms. Instead, social media is a highlight reel, showing only the peaks without the valleys. This skewed representation can warp our perception of normal life, making our own experiences seem dull by comparison. The design of social media platforms, with their algorithms that prioritize engaging or sensational content, exacerbates the issue. These platforms are not passive, they actively shape what we see, often pushing content that they predict will elicit strong emotional responses. This can create a feedback loop where the more we engage with content that triggers FOMO, the more such content is presented to us, further deepening the cycle. Moreover, the instantaneity and ubiquity of digital connections mean that we're never truly off. There's always a new post, a new story, a new update. The digital world is relentless, offering no respite for reflection or contentment with one's own life. Instead, it fosters a pervasive sense of urgency, a need to constantly check and update to avoid falling behind. In this digital landscape, this fear thrives. It feeds on the comparison, the sense of lacking, and the social anxiety that modern technology amplifies. But recognizing these roots is the first step toward overcoming this terrible fear. By understanding the psychological mechanisms at play, we can begin to untangle ourselves from the web of constant comparison and anxiety over missing out. We can start to see social media for what it often is, a distorted mirror that reflects not the fullness of life, but a carefully curated illusion. The journey away from FOMO involves a conscious effort to disconnect from these triggers, to reassess our relationship with social media, and to find value in our own unfiltered lives. It requires us to embrace the moments of solitude, the quiet, the mundane, as not only necessary but enriching. The philosophical exploration of solitude has a rich and varied history, with thinkers from various epochs and cultures highlighting its value for personal growth, self-awareness, and deeper connection with the world. To understand the depth and breadth of its significance, we turn to the perspectives of some of the most influential philosophers, including Henry David Thoreau and the Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, who have articulated the profound benefits of embracing this concept. Henry David Thoreau, a 19th-century American philosopher, naturalist, and author, is perhaps best known for his experiment in simple living documented in his masterpiece, Walden. Thoreau embarked on a 2-year, 2-month, and 2-day sojourn in a cabin he built near Walden Pond, amidst the woods of Massachusetts. This period of living deliberately away from society allowed him to reflect deeply on human life, society, and our relationship with nature. Thoreau's profound engagement with solitude is encapsulated in his famous assertion, "I never found a companion that was so companionable as solitude." This statement reflects Thoreau's belief that solitude does not equate to loneliness. Rather, it offers a unique companionship found only in the quiet of being alone, a space where one can truly connect with their own thoughts and the natural world around them. Thoreau saw this concept as essential to understanding oneself and living authentically. It provided him the clarity to critique the societal conventions of his time and advocate for a life that prioritizes personal integrity, mindfulness, and a deep appreciation for the natural world. Turning to the Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, we find a philosophical tradition that also extols the virtues of being alone, albeit from a different angle. The Stoics, ancient philosophers who flourished in Greece and Rome, taught the importance of virtue, reason, and self-control. For them, it was not merely a physical state but a mental and emotional discipline. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, in his Meditations, frequently emphasized the significance of retreating into one's own mind to find peace and clarity. He advocated for moments of loneliness as opportunities for self-reflection and personal growth. In his writings, he notes, "People seek retreats for themselves, houses in the country, seashores, and mountains, but this is altogether a mark of the most common sort of men, for it is in your power whenever you shall choose to retire into yourself." For Aurelius, true solitude was the ability to find a retreat within oneself, irrespective of one's physical surroundings. This inner quietness was crucial for maintaining equanimity amidst the chaos of life and for cultivating a life in accordance with reason and virtue. The Stoics viewed it as a time for self-reflection and personal growth, and it complements Thoreau's emphasis on this idea as a means to connect with nature and oneself. Both perspectives underscore the transformative power of this idea in fostering a deeper understanding of oneself and the world. The Stoics, through their emphasis on reason and self-control, and Thoreau, through his experiential connection with nature, both arrive at the conclusion that solitude is not merely a state to be endured, but a condition to be sought after for its enriching and clarifying potential. These philosophical traditions invite us to reconsider our modern aversion to being alone. In an age where constant connectivity is often celebrated, and quietness is frequently misunderstood as isolation or loneliness, the thoughts of Thoreau and the Stoics offer a counter-narrative. They remind us that it can be a source of strength, insight, and connection. It is in this quietness that we can confront our thoughts, challenge our assumptions, and cultivate the virtues that lead to a fulfilling life. Solitude, as these philosophers teach us, is not an escape from the world, but a deeper engagement with it, providing the silence and space necessary to hear our own voice and the whispers of the world around us. The philosophical appreciation of loneliness as a means towards self-discovery and personal growth offers a compelling alternative to the pervasive fear of missing out. It suggests that what we often fear missing out on may be superficial and fleeting compared to the profound insights and growth that can come from turning inward. By embracing this idea, we can find a companionable presence within ourselves, a sanctuary for reflection and renewal. This perspective does not diminish the value of social connections or experiences, but places them within a larger context of a life lived with intention and authenticity. In doing so, it invites us to balance our engagement with the world with periods of solitude, where we can cultivate the inner resources necessary for a life of purpose and meaning. Embracing solitude offers a myriad of benefits that span the cognitive, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of our lives. These benefits are not merely anecdotal, they are increasingly supported by scientific research, which provides a robust framework for understanding how it can enhance our well-being and capacity for creative and critical thinking. One of the most significant cognitive benefits of solitude is enhanced focus. In a world saturated with information and distractions, the ability to focus is more valuable than ever. It offers a reprieve from the constant barrage of notifications and demands on our attention, allowing our minds to reset and refocus. Research in the field of cognitive psychology has demonstrated that periods of loneliness can improve concentration and productivity. For instance, a study published in the journal Nature highlighted how uninterrupted quietness is crucial for deep thought and the synthesis of complex information. The quiet and detachment from social and digital stimuli provide the mental space necessary for engaging in focused work and for integrating new knowledge. Creativity is another cognitive benefit closely linked to this concept. This creativity link has been explored in various studies, suggesting that it provides the necessary conditions for creative thought to flourish. One mechanism through which solitude enhances creativity is by fostering what psychologists call incubation. Incubation refers to a period of rest or distraction from a problem, allowing unconscious processes to contribute to creative problem solving. Additionally, it encourages divergent thinking, a style of thinking that allows new ideas to be generated freely without the constraints of peer judgment or external criticism. A seminal paper in the Journal of Creative Behavior outlines how it contributes to higher creativity scores, positing that solitude acts as a catalyst for the free exploration of ideas and the construction of novel connections between concepts. On the emotional front, it offers profound benefits such as increased self-awareness, emotional regulation, and resilience. Self-awareness grows in moments of isolation because it provides the space for introspection. Without the influence of external opinions and behaviors, individuals can better understand their own emotions, motivations, and desires. This introspective process is crucial for personal development and emotional maturity. A study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals who regularly engage in introspective solitude report higher levels of self-esteem and lower levels of anxiety compared to those who avoid it. Emotional regulation, the ability to manage and respond to one's emotions in a healthy way, is also enhanced by embracing moments of isolation. It provides the time to process emotions, reflect on emotional responses, and practice coping strategies without external pressures. This ability to sit with and work through emotions contributes to emotional resilience, equipping individuals to handle stress and adversity more effectively. Research in the field of psychology supports this, demonstrating that solitude can aid in the development of coping skills and emotional resilience by providing a quiet space for emotional processing and recovery. Spiritually, it offers the opportunity for meditation, mindfulness, and the exploration of one's purpose in life. Meditation and mindfulness practices are deeply rooted in traditions that value solitude as a path to spiritual enlightenment and self-realization. Contemporary research has shown that meditation and mindfulness can lead to significant improvements in mental health, stress reduction, and overall well-being. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Psychiatric Practice concludes that mindfulness meditation, often practiced in isolation, can have robust effects in treating symptoms of anxiety and depression, as well as improving general psychological well-being. Furthermore, it can be a fertile ground for exploring and finding one's purpose. Away from the noise and demands of everyday life, individuals can reflect on their values, aspirations, and the impact they wish to have on the world. This process of self-discovery and reflection can lead to a more purpose-driven life, imbued with a sense of clarity and direction. The existential philosophers have long argued for the necessity of being alone in confronting the fundamental questions of existence. And contemporary psychological research echoes this, linking a strong sense of purpose to higher levels of life satisfaction and well-being. The cognitive, emotional, and spiritual benefits of embracing this concept are multifaceted and profound. Supported by both philosophical insights and scientific research, it emerges as a vital component of a well-rounded, fulfilling life. It enhances our ability to focus, boosts creativity, facilitates emotional growth, and provides a space for spiritual exploration. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, the intentional pursuit of solitude can serve as a powerful tool for personal development and well-being. Embracing solitude in a world that often equates being alone with loneliness or unproductivity can seem daunting. However, the journey towards integrating practical isolation into our lives can be transformative, offering profound benefits for our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. To embark on this journey, it is essential to approach it with intention and openness. Here are practical tips for integrating this concept into your daily life, fostering an environment where you can thrive in your moments alone. Start small. Dedicate a few moments each day to solitude. The practice of embracing solitude need not begin with grand gestures or extensive periods of isolation. Instead, start small. Dedicate a few moments each day to be alone with your thoughts, free from the distractions of the outside world. This could be as simple as spending 5 minutes in the morning with your coffee, without the intrusion of your phone or other devices. It's about carving out intentional spaces in your day for this kind of isolation, even if brief. These moments provide a foundation upon which you can build a more profound relationship with this idea, gradually increasing the time as you become more comfortable and find value in these periods of quiet reflection. Create a ritual: reading, writing, walking in nature. One way to deepen your experience of solitude is to create rituals around it. Activities that signal to your mind and body that this time is different, sacred even. These rituals could involve reading, writing, or walking in nature. Reading in isolation allows you to immerse yourself in other worlds and ideas, sparking creativity and reflection. Writing, whether journaling about your day or exploring your thoughts on paper, provides a means to process emotions and clarify your thoughts. Walking in nature, free from the pull of technology, can help ground you in the present moment, fostering a sense of peace and connection to the world around you. Disconnect to reconnect. Limit social media and technology use. In our hyper-connected world, one of the most significant barriers to embracing this concept is the constant presence of technology and social media. These tools, while offering undeniable benefits, can also perpetuate feelings of FOMO and distract us from the value of spending time alone. To truly embrace it, it is crucial to disconnect intentionally, to set boundaries around your use of technology. This might mean designating certain times of the day as tech-free, turning off notifications, or having tech-free zones in your home. The goal is to limit the noise that technology can bring into our lives, creating space for silence and reflection. By disconnecting from the digital world, we open the door to reconnecting with ourselves, our thoughts, and the world around us in a more meaningful way. Reflect. Use isolation for self-reflection and journaling. This idea offers a unique opportunity for self-reflection, a time to turn inward and explore our thoughts, feelings, and aspirations. Journaling is a powerful tool in this process, providing a tangible way to capture our reflections, work through challenges, and celebrate successes. The act of writing can help clarify thoughts and emotions that might be muddled or confusing when left unexpressed. Furthermore, journaling in moments of isolation allows for a level of honesty and vulnerability with oneself that can be difficult to achieve in other contexts. Through reflection and journaling, solitude becomes not just a time to be alone, but a time to grow and learn about oneself. Embrace boredom. Let your mind wander and see where it takes you. In our always-on culture, boredom is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs. Yet embracing boredom can be incredibly beneficial, especially in the context of solitude. Allowing your mind to wander without a specific goal or distraction can lead to bursts of creativity, problem-solving, and introspection. Boredom, in the absence of constant stimulation, forces our minds to engage in a kind of neural default mode, where we can make unexpected connections, generate new ideas, and reflect on our lives in a broader context. By embracing boredom, we allow ourselves the freedom to explore the vast landscape of our inner thoughts and feelings, often leading to insights and inspirations that would remain inaccessible in a perpetually distracted state. Incorporating these practices into your life can transform solitude from a state to be avoided into a cherished and productive time. The journey towards embracing this concept is personal and evolving, requiring patience and intention. However, the rewards of this journey are immeasurable, leading to enhanced creativity, emotional well-being, and a deeper understanding of oneself and one's place in the world. By starting small, creating rituals, disconnecting from technology, reflecting through journaling, and embracing boredom, you can unlock the profound benefits this idea has to offer, turning what was once feared into a source of strength and inspiration. In an era where our lives are increasingly mediated by screens, the concept of a digital detox has emerged as a crucial counterbalance. It refers to a designated period during which an individual intentionally refrains from using electronic devices such as smartphones, computers, and tablets. The primary aim of this practice is to reduce stress, enhance focus on social interactions in the physical world, and reconnect with oneself and one's environment, free from the constant pull of digital notifications and the glow of screens. The necessity for digital detoxes stems from the overwhelming digital consumption that characterizes modern life. This relentless engagement with these devices has profound implications for our mental health and the quality of our social relationships. The constant availability of information and the perpetual presence of social networks can lead to information overload, a state where the sheer volume of data exceeds our cognitive ability to process it. This overload not only contributes to stress and anxiety but also detracts from our ability to engage in meaningful social interactions, diminishing the quality of our relationships. The negative effects of excessive screen time and social media use are well documented. Studies and statistics have consistently demonstrated that prolonged exposure to screens can lead to decreased attention spans, disrupted sleep patterns, and increased feelings of loneliness and depression. For instance, research published in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology links excessive screen time with symptoms of depression and anxiety, especially among adolescents. Another study from the Journal of Sleep Research highlights how screen use before bedtime can disrupt sleep patterns, leading to poorer sleep quality and shorter sleep duration. These findings underscore the tangible impacts of digital overload on our well-being. From a philosophical standpoint, the concept of technological determinism offers a lens through which to view the influence of digital devices on our lives. This theory suggests that technology shapes society and its cultural values, often in ways that we do not fully recognize. Our tools, from the plow to the smartphone, have not only changed how we interact with the world, but have also transformed our social structures, our ways of thinking, and our sense of self. In the context of digital technology, this means that our devices are not merely tools, but actors that fundamentally alter our experience of time, space, and relationships. Engaging in a digital detox can lead to a myriad of benefits. Improved mental health is one of the most significant advantages, with many individuals reporting reductions in anxiety and depression symptoms after periods of digital abstinence. This improvement is often attributed to the decreased pressure to constantly be available online and the reduced exposure to stress-inducing content. Increased productivity and creativity are also notable benefits. With fewer distractions from notifications and the endless scroll of social media, individuals can focus more effectively on tasks and engage more deeply in creative pursuits. This enhanced focus can lead to more significant accomplishments and a greater sense of satisfaction with one's work. Physically, a digital detox can lead to better sleep patterns and more time for physical activity. Without the blue light from screens disrupting our circadian rhythms, sleep quality can improve, leading to enhanced overall health. Additionally, the time reclaimed from screen use can be redirected towards physical activities, further benefiting one's health. Perhaps most importantly, digital detoxes can strengthen real-life relationships. By reducing the interference of these devices, individuals can engage more fully and meaningfully with others, enhancing the quality of these connections and fostering a greater sense of community and belonging. To embark on a successful digital detox, setting clear goals is crucial. Whether the aim is to have more time for hobbies, improve sleep, or strengthen relationships, having specific objectives can provide direction and motivation. Adopting a gradual approach to detoxing can also be effective. Starting with short periods of detox and gradually increasing the duration can make the process more manageable and less daunting. Creating tech-free zones in one's home, such as bedrooms or dining areas, can help establish boundaries for device use, while finding alternatives to screen time, such as reading, engaging in outdoor activities, or spending time with loved ones, can fill the void left by these devices with enriching experiences. Mindfulness and reflection are also key components of a digital detox. Using the time gained to engage in self-reflection, meditation, or journaling can help individuals reconnect with their inner selves and clarify their values and aspirations. Integrating these practices into daily life as a sustainable approach rather than a one-off event can lead to lasting benefits. Regularly assessing and adjusting one's digital consumption habits can help maintain a healthy balance between the online and offline worlds. A digital detox offers a pathway to reclaiming our time and attention from the demands of the digital world. By intentionally stepping away from our devices, we can improve our mental and physical health, enhance our productivity and creativity, strengthen our relationships, and reconnect with our deeper selves. In the quest to rebrand solitude, it's essential to shift the narrative from solitude being a state of being alone, often laden with negative connotations, to a chosen path of meaningful engagement with oneself. This rebranding involves challenging deeply ingrained societal perceptions that equate solitude with loneliness, isolation, or even social rejection. Instead, it should be celebrated as a valuable opportunity for introspection, creativity, and personal growth. It's a time to reconnect with oneself, to listen to one's thoughts and feelings without the distraction of constant social interaction or digital connectivity. This perspective transforms it from a condition to be avoided into a cherished and sought-after state, where the absence of others is not a void, but a space filled with potential for self-discovery and renewal. The rebranding of solitude is not without precedent. History is replete with individuals who have extolled the virtues of this kind of isolation and demonstrated its enriching effects on the human spirit. Consider the words of Albert Einstein, who said, "I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity." For Einstein, it was not just a personal preference, but a crucial ingredient in his intellectual work, providing him the space to ponder the mysteries of the universe. The joy and fulfillment found in moments of isolation are not despite being alone, but because of it. The solitude these individuals describe is not a barren landscape, but a fertile ground for the mind and spirit, where the silence outside mirrors the depth of exploration within. It is in these moments that one can hear the whispers of creativity, where one can wrestle with complex emotions and emerge stronger, and where one can connect with a sense of purpose that guides one's actions in the world. Rebranding solitude requires us to challenge our own perceptions and to question the societal narratives that paint it in a negative light. It invites us to explore this concept not as a state of deprivation, but as an opportunity for enrichment. This does not mean that social connections are not important. Humans are inherently social beings, and our relationships with others are a vital source of joy and support. However, by integrating periods of isolation into our lives, we can cultivate a deeper relationship with ourselves, which in turn can enhance our interactions with others. This idea, when embraced, can be a powerful tool for self-reflection. It allows us to pause and consider our life's direction, to reassess our goals and values, and to make changes that align more closely with our true selves. This process of self-reflection can lead to greater self-awareness, which is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. With increased self-awareness, we can navigate our relationships with more empathy and understanding, and we can make choices that are more congruent with our inner beliefs and desires. The challenge, then, is to rebrand solitude in our own lives, to seek out and cherish those moments of isolation, and to see them as precious opportunities for growth and self-discovery. This rebranding can begin with small steps, setting aside time each day for quiet reflection, engaging in activities that nourish the soul, or simply spending time in nature away from the hustle and bustle of daily life. Over time, these moments can become a cherished part of our routine, a sanctuary where we can recharge and reconnect with what matters most. In rebranding this concept, we also open the door to a more balanced life where action and reflection go hand in hand, where the noise of the world is balanced by the quiet of the soul, and where our connections with others are deepened by our connection with ourselves. This rebranded solitude is not a retreat from the world, but a deeper engagement with it, armed with a clearer sense of who we are and what we value. Thus, this journey is both a personal and a collective challenge. It requires us to confront our fears and prejudices about being alone, to explore the depths of our own solitude, and to share our discoveries with others. By doing so, we can shift the cultural narrative around solitude, turning it from a state to be feared into a state to be revered. As we journey through the landscapes of solitude and the joy of missing out, we've uncovered the transformative power that lies in stepping back from a world that never stops. In a society that glorifies perpetual busyness and constant connectivity, choosing moments of isolation represents a radical act of self-care and self-discovery. It's a deliberate choice to engage deeply with oneself, to listen to the whispers of one's inner voice, and to embrace the fullness of life away from the din of societal expectations. The joy of missing out, far from being a passive resignation to loneliness, is an active engagement with the world in a more intentional, meaningful way. It's about finding beauty in the quiet moments, wisdom in stillness, and strength in solitude. This journey invites us to reconsider what it means to be truly connected, not just to others, but to ourselves, our desires, and our dreams. In redefining success and happiness on our own terms, we challenge the narratives that have been handed down to us. We reject the notion that our worth is measured by how busy we are, how much we achieve, or how visible our lives are on social media. Instead, we assert that true success is found in the depth of our experiences, the quality of our relationships, and the authenticity of our lives. Happiness, then, becomes not a destination to be reached through external validation, but a path to be walked with intention and awareness. As we conclude this exploration, I encourage you to embark on your own journey into solitude. Let the quiet be your teacher and the stillness your guide. Allow yourself to get lost in the quiet, for it is in getting lost that we often find ourselves. The path may not always be easy, and the silence may at times feel uncomfortable, but the treasures to be found in solitude are worth every step. Remember, the world will always demand more of your time, your energy, and your attention. But it is up to you to choose how you engage with the world and on what terms. Make space for quietness in your life, not as an escape from the world, but as a way to live more fully within it. Embrace the joy of missing out as an opportunity to connect with what truly matters, to recharge your spirit, and to cultivate a life of purpose and meaning. As you move forward, carry with you the knowledge that this concept is not the absence of life, but a deeper immersion into it. Know that in the quiet moments, you are not alone, but in the company of your deepest self. And in those moments, may you find the clarity, peace, and inspiration to live your life with courage, compassion, and authenticity. So, let us not fear the quiet, nor the solitude that brings us face to face with ourselves. Instead, let us embrace it as the gift that it is, a path to discovering the richness of our own depths, a chance to breathe deeply and to live genuinely. The most profound journeys often begin with a single step away from the noise and into the silence. It is this that may be bitten, burned, or hurt. The other part is rational. It is this which holds resolutely to opinions, is courageous and unconquerable. In the latter is situated man's supreme good. Before this is completely attained, the mind wavers in uncertainty. Only when it is fully achieved is the mind fixed and steady. And so when one has just begun, or is on one's way to the heights and is cultivating virtue, or even if one is drawing near the perfect good but has not yet put the finishing touch upon it, one will retrograde at times, and there will be a certain slackening of mental effort. For such a man has not yet traversed the doubtful ground, he is still standing in slippery places. But the happy man whose virtue is complete loves himself most of all when his bravery has been submitted to the severest test, and when he not only endures but welcomes that which all other men regard with fear, if it is the price which he must pay for the performance of a duty which honor imposes. And he greatly prefers to have men say of him, "How much more noble," rather than "How much more lucky." And now I have reached the point to which your patient waiting summons me. You must not think that our human virtue transcends nature. The wise man will tremble, will feel pain, will turn pale. For all these are sensations of the body. Where then is the abode of utter distress, of that which is truly an evil? In the other part of us, no doubt. if it is the mind that these trials drag down, forced to a confession of its servitude and caused to regret its existence. The wise man indeed overcomes fortune by his virtue, but many who profess wisdom are sometimes frightened by the most unsubstantial threats. And at this stage, it is a mistake on our part to make the same demands upon the wise man and upon the learner. I still exhort myself to do that which I recommend, but my exhortations are not yet followed. And even if this were the case, I should not have these principles so ready for practice or so well trained that they would rush to my assistance in every crisis. Just as wool takes up certain colors at once, while there are others which it will not absorb unless it is soaked and steeped in them many times, so other systems of doctrine can be immediately applied by men's minds after once being accepted. But this system of which I speak, unless it has gone deep and has sunk in for a long time, and has not merely colored, but thoroughly permeated the soul, does not fulfill any of its promises. The matter can be imparted quickly and in very few words. Virtue is the only good. At any rate, there is no good without virtue, and virtue itself is situated in our nobler part, that is, the rational part. And what will this virtue be? A true and never-swerving judgment, for therefrom will spring all mental impulses, and by its agency every external appearance that stirs our impulses will be clarified. It will be in keeping with this judgment to judge all things that have been colored by virtue as goods and as equal goods. Bodily goods are, to be sure, good for the body, but they are not absolutely good. There will indeed be some value in them, but they will possess no genuine merit, for they will differ greatly. Some will be less, others greater. And we are constrained to acknowledge that there are great differences among the very followers of wisdom. One man has already made so much progress that he dares to raise his eyes and look fortune in the face, but not persistently, for his eyes soon drop, dazzled by her overwhelming splendor. Another has made so much progress that he is able to match glances with her, that is, unless he has already reached the summit and is full of confidence. That which is short of perfection must necessarily be unsteady, at one time progressing, at another slipping or growing faint, and it will surely slip back unless it keeps struggling ahead. For if a man slackens at all in zeal and faithful application, he must retrograde. No one can resume his progress at the point where he left off. Therefore, let us press on and persevere. There remains much more of the road than we have put behind us, but the greater part of progress is the desire to progress. I fully understand what this task is. It is a thing which I desire, and I desire it with all my heart. I see that you also have been aroused and are hastening with great zeal towards infinite beauty. Let us then hasten. Only on these terms will life be a boon to us. Otherwise there is delay, and indeed disgraceful delay, while we busy ourselves with revolting things. Let us see to it that all time belongs to us. This, however, cannot be unless first of all our own selves begin to belong to us. And when will it be our privilege to despise both kinds of fortune? When will it be our privilege, after all the passions have been subdued and brought under our own control, to utter the words, "I have conquered"? Do you ask me whom I have conquered? Neither the Persians nor the far-off Medes, nor any warlike race that lies beyond the Dahai. Not these, but greed, ambition, and the fear of death that has conquered the conquerors of the world. Letter 78, on the healing power of the mind. That you are frequently troubled by the snuffling of catarrh and by short attacks of fever which follow after long and chronic catarrhal seizures, I am sorry to hear, particularly because I have experienced this sort of illness myself and scorned it in its early stages. For when I was still young, I could put up with hardships and show a bold front to illness. But I finally succumbed and arrived at such a state that I could do nothing but snuffle, reduced as I was to the extremity of thinness. I often entertained the impulse of ending my life then and there, but the thought of my kind old father kept me back. For I reflected, not how bravely I had the power to die, but how little power he had to bear bravely the loss of me and so I commanded myself to live, for sometimes it is an act of bravery even to live. Now I shall tell you what consoled me during those days, stating at the outset that these very aids to my peace of mind were as efficacious as medicine. Honorable consolation results in a cure, and whatever has uplifted the soul helps the body also. My studies were my salvation. I place it to the credit of philosophy that I recovered and regained my strength. I owe my life to philosophy, and that is the least of my obligations. My friends too helped me greatly towards good health. I used to be comforted by their cheering words, by the hours they spent at my bedside, and by their conversation. Nothing, my excellent Ducilius, refreshes and aids a sick man so much as the affection of his friends. Nothing so steals away the expectation and the fear of death. In fact, I could not believe that if they survived me, I should be dying at all. Yes, I repeat, it seemed to me that I should continue to live, not with them, but through them. I imagined myself not to be yielding up my soul, but to be making it over to them. All these things gave me the inclination to succor myself and to endure any torture. Besides, it is a most miserable state to have lost one's zest for dying, and to have no zest in living. These, then, are the remedies to which you should have recourse. The physician will prescribe your walks and your exercise. He will warn you not to become addicted to idleness, as is the tendency of the inactive invalid. He will order you to read in a louder voice, and to exercise your lungs the passages and cavity of which are affected, or to sail and shake up your bowels by a little mild motion. He will recommend the proper food, and the suitable time for aiding your strength with wine, or refraining from it, in order to keep your cough from being irritated and hacking. But as for me, my counsel to you is this, and it is a cure, not merely of this disease of yours, but of your whole life: despise death. There is no sorrow in the world when we have escaped from the fear of death. There are these three serious elements in every disease: fear of death, bodily pain, and interruption of pleasures. Concerning death enough has been said, and I shall add only a word. This fear is not a fear of disease, but a fear of nature. Disease has often postponed death, and a vision of dying has been many a man's salvation. You will die, not because you are ill, but because you are alive. Even when you have been cured, the same end awaits you. When you have recovered, it will be not death, but ill health that you have escaped. Let us now return to the consideration of the characteristic disadvantage of disease. It is accompanied by great suffering. The suffering, however, is rendered endurable by interruptions, for the strain of extreme pain must come to an end. No man can suffer both severely and for a long time. Nature, who loves us most tenderly, has so constituted us as to make pain either endurable or short. The severest pains have their seat in the most slender parts of our body. Nerves, joints, and any other of the narrow passages hurt most cruelly when they have developed trouble within their contracted spaces. But these parts soon become numb, and by reason of the pain itself lose the sensation of pain, whether because the life force, when checked in its natural course and changed for the worse, loses the peculiar power through which it thrives and through which it warns us, or because the diseased humors of the body, when they cease to have a place into which they may flow, are thrown back upon themselves and deprive of sensation the parts where they have caused congestion. So gout, both in the feet and in the hands, and all pain in the vertebrae and in the nerves, have their intervals of rest at the times when they have dulled the parts which they before had tortured. The first twinges in all such cases are what cause the distress, and their onset is checked by lapse of time, so that there is an end of pain when numbness has set in. Pain in the teeth, eyes, and ears is most acute for the very reason that it begins among the narrow spaces of the body, no less acute indeed than in the head itself. But if it is more violent than usual, it turns to delirium and stupor. This is, accordingly, a consolation for excessive pain, that you cannot help ceasing to feel it if you feel it to excess. The reason, however, why the inexperienced are impatient when their bodies suffer is that they have not accustomed themselves to be contented in spirit. They have been closely associated with the body. Therefore, a high-minded and sensible man divorces soul from body, and dwells much with the better or divine part, and only as far as he must with this complaining and frail portion. But it is a hardship, men say, to do without our customary pleasures, to fast, to feel thirst and hunger. These are indeed serious when one first abstains from them. Later the desire dies down, because the appetites themselves which lead to desire are wearied and forsake us. Then the stomach becomes petulant, then the food which we craved before becomes hateful. Our very wants die away. But there is no bitterness in doing without that which you have ceased to desire. Moreover, every pain sometimes stops, or at any rate, slackens. Moreover, one may take precautions against its return, and when it threatens, may check it by means of remedies. Every variety of pain has its premonitory symptoms. This is true at any rate of pain that is habitual and recurrent. One can endure the suffering which disease entails if one has come to regard its results with scorn. But do not of your own accord make your troubles heavier to bear and burden yourself with complaining. Pain is slight if opinion has added nothing to it. But if, on the other hand, you begin to encourage yourself and say it is nothing, a trifling matter at most, keep a stout heart and it will soon cease. Then in thinking it slight, you will make it slight. Everything depends on opinion, ambition, luxury, greed, hark back to opinion. It is according to opinion that we suffer. A man is as wretched as he has convinced himself that he is. I hold that we should do away with complaint about past sufferings, and with all language like this. None has ever been worse off than I. What sufferings, what evils have I endured? No one has thought that I shall recover. How often have my family bewailed me, and the physicians given me over? Men who are placed on the rack are not torn asunder with such agony. However, even if all this is true, it is over and gone. What benefit is there in reviewing past sufferings, and in being unhappy just because once you were unhappy? Besides, everyone adds much to his own ills and tells lies to himself. And that which was bitter to bear is pleasant to have borne. It is natural to rejoice at the ending of one's ills. Two elements must therefore be rooted out once for all: the fear of future suffering, and the recollection of past suffering, since the latter no longer concerns me, and the former concerns me not yet. But when set in the very midst of troubles, one should say, perchance some day the memory of this sorrow will even bring delight. Let such a man fight against them with all his might. If he once gives way, he will be vanquished, but if he strives against his sufferings, he will conquer. As it is, however, what most men do is to drag down upon their own heads a falling ruin which they ought to try to support. If you begin to withdraw your support from that which thrusts toward you and totters and is ready to plunge, it will follow you and lean more heavily upon you. But if you hold your ground and make up your mind to push against it, it will be forced back. What blows do athletes receive on their faces and all over their bodies? Nevertheless, through their desire for fame, they endure every torture, and they undergo these things not only because they are fighting, but in order to be able to fight. Their very training means torture. So let us also win the way to victory in all our struggles. For the reward is not a garland or a palm or a trumpeter who calls for silence at the proclamation of our names, but rather virtue, steadfastness of soul, and a peace that is won for all time, if fortune has once been utterly vanquished in any combat. You say, I feel severe pain. What then? Are you relieved from feeling it if you endure it like a woman? Just as an enemy is more dangerous to a retreating army, so every trouble that fortune brings attacks us all the harder if we yield and turn our backs. But the trouble is serious. What? Is it for this purpose that we are strong, that we may have light burdens to bear? Would you have your illness long drawn out, or would you have it quick and short? If it is long, it means a respite, allows you a period for resting yourself, bestows upon you the boon of time in plenty. As it arises, so it must also subside. A short and rapid illness will do one of two things. It will quench or be quenched. And what difference does it make whether it is not or I am not? In either case, there is an end of pain. This too will help to turn the mind aside to thoughts of other things and thus to depart from pain. Call to mind what honorable or brave deeds you have done. Consider the good side of your own life. Run over in your memory those things which you have particularly admired. Then think of all the brave men who have conquered pain, of him who continued to read his book as he allowed the cutting out of varicose veins, of him who did not cease to smile, though that very smile so enraged his torturers that they tried upon him every instrument of their cruelty. If pain can be conquered by a smile, will it not be conquered by reason? You may tell me now of whatever you like of colds, bad coughing spells that bring up parts of our entrails, fever that parches our very vitals, thirst, limbs so twisted that the joints protrude in different directions. Yet worse than these are the stake, the rack, the red-hot plates, the instrument that reopens wounds while the wounds themselves are still swollen, and that drives their imprint still deeper. And nevertheless there have been men who have not uttered a moan amid these tortures. More yet, says the torturer, but the victim has not begged for release. More yet, he says again, but no answer has come. More yet. The victim has smiled, and heartily too. Can you not bring yourself after an example like this to make a mock at pain? But, you object, my illness does not allow me to be doing anything. It has withdrawn me from all my duties. It is your body that is hampered by ill health, and not your soul as well. It is for this reason that it clogs the feet of the runner, and will hinder the handiwork of the cobbler or the artisan. But if your soul be habitually in practice, you will plead and teach, listen and learn, investigate and meditate. What more is necessary? Do you think that you are doing nothing if you possess self-control in your illness? You will be showing that a disease can be overcome, or at any rate endured. There is, I assure you, a place for virtue, even upon a bed of sickness. It is not only the sword and the battle line that prove the soul alert and unconquered by fear. A man can display bravery even when wrapped in his bedclothes. You have something to do. Wrestle bravely with disease. If it shall compel you to nothing, beguile you to nothing, it is a notable example that you display. Oh, what ample matter were there for renown, if we could have spectators of our sickness. Be your own spectator, seek your own applause. Again, there are two kinds of pleasures. Disease checks the pleasures of the body, but does not do away with them. Nay, if the truth is to be considered, it serves to excite them. For the thirstier a man is, the more he enjoys a drink. The hungrier he is, the more pleasure he takes in food. Whatever falls to one's lot, after a period of abstinence, is welcomed with greater zest. The other kind, however, the pleasures of the mind, which are higher and less uncertain, no physician can refuse to the sick man. Whoever seeks these, and knows well what they are, scorns all the blandishments of the senses. Men say, poor sick fellow, but why? Is it because he does not mix snow with his wine, or because he does not revive the chill of his drink, mixed as it is in a good-sized bowl, by chipping ice into it, or because he does not have lucrine oysters opened fresh at his table, or because there is no din of cooks about his dining hall as they bring in their very cooking apparatus along with their viands? For luxury has already devised this fashion of having the kitchen accompany the dinner, so that the food may not grow lukewarm or fail to be hot enough for a palate which has already become hardened. Poor sick fellow. He will eat as much as he can digest. There will be no boar lying before his eyes, banished from the table as if it were a common meat, and on his sideboard there will be heaped together no breast meat of birds, because it sickens him to see birds served whole. But what evil has been done to you? You will dine like a sick man, nay, sometimes like a sound man. All these things, however, can be easily endured. Gruel, warm water, and anything else that seems insupportable to a fastidious man, to one who is wallowing in luxury, sick in soul rather than in body, if only we cease to shudder at death. And we shall cease, if once we have gained a knowledge of the limits of good and evil. Then and then only, life will not weary us, neither will death make us afraid. For surfeit of self can never seize upon a life that surveys all the things which are manifold, great, divine. Only idle leisure is wont to make men hate their lives. To one who roams through the universe, the truth can never pall. It will be the untruths that will cloy. And on the other hand, if death comes near with its summons, even though it be untimely in its arrival, though it cut one off in one's prime, a man has had a taste of all that the longest life can give. Such a man has in great measure come to understand the universe. He knows that honorable things do not depend on time for their growth, but any life must seem short to those who measure its length by pleasures which are empty and for that reason unbounded. Refresh yourself with such thoughts as these, and meanwhile reserve some hours for our letters. There will come a time when we shall be united again and brought together. However short this time may be, we shall make it long by knowing how to employ it. For as Posidonius says, a single day among the learned lasts longer than the longest life of the ignorant. Meanwhile, hold fast to this thought, and grip it close. Yield not to adversity, trust not to prosperity. Keep before your eyes the full scope of fortune's power, as if she would surely do whatever is in her power to do. That which has been long expected comes more gently. Farewell. Letter 104, on care of health and peace of mind. I have run off to my villa at Nomentum. For what purpose do you suppose? To escape the city? No, to shake off a fever which was surely working its way into my system. It had already got a grip upon me. My physician kept insisting that when the circulation was upset and irregular, disturbing the natural poise, the disease was underway. I therefore ordered my carriage to be made ready at once, and insisted on departing in spite of my wife Paulina's effort to stop me. For I remembered Master Gallio's words, when he began to develop a fever in Achaia, and took ship at once, insisting that the disease was not of the body, but of the place. That is what I remarked to my dear Paulina, who always urges me to take care of my health. I know that her very life breath comes and goes with my own, and I am beginning in my solicitude for her to be solicitous for myself. And although old age has made me braver to bear many things, I am gradually losing this boon that old age bestows. For it comes into my mind that in this old man there is a youth also, and youth needs tenderness. Therefore, since I cannot prevail upon her to love me any more heroically, she prevails upon me to cherish myself more carefully. For one must indulge genuine emotions. Sometimes, even in spite of weighty reasons, the breath of life must be called back and kept at our very lips, even at the price of great suffering, for the sake of those whom we hold dear, because the good man should not live as long as it pleases him, but as long as he ought. He who does not value his wife or his friend highly enough to linger longer in life, he who obstinately persists in dying, is a voluptuary. The soul should also enforce this command upon itself whenever the needs of one's relatives require. It should pause and humor those near and dear, not only when it desires, but even when it has begun to die. It gives proof of a great heart to return to life for the sake of others, and noble men have often done this. But this procedure also, I believe, indicates the highest type of kindness, that although the greatest advantage of old age is the opportunity to be more negligent regarding self-preservation and to use life more adventurously, one should watch over one's old age with still greater care if one knows that such action is pleasing, useful, or desirable in the eyes of a person whom one holds dear. This is also a source of no mean joy and profit. For what is sweeter than to be so valued by one's wife that one becomes more valuable to oneself for this reason? Hence my dear Paulina is able to make me responsible, not only for her fears, but also for my own. So you are curious to know the outcome of this prescription of travel? As soon as I escaped from the oppressive atmosphere of the city, and from that awful odor of reeking kitchens which, when in use, pour forth a ruinous mess of steam and soot, I perceived at once that my health was mending. And how much stronger do you think I felt when I reached my vineyards? Being, so to speak, let out to pasture, I regularly walked into my meals, so I am my old self again, feeling now no wavering languor in my system, and no sluggishness in my brain. I am beginning to work with all my energy, but the mere place avails little for this purpose unless the mind is fully master of itself, and can at its pleasure find seclusion even in the midst of business. The man, however, who is always selecting resorts and hunting for leisure, will find something to distract his mind in every place. Socrates is reported to have replied, when a certain person complained of having received no benefit from his travels, "It serves you right, you traveled in your own company." Oh, what a blessing it would be for some men to wander away from themselves, As it is, they cause themselves vexation, worry, demoralization, and fear. What profit is there in crossing the sea and in going from one city to another? If you would escape your troubles, you need not another place but another personality. Perhaps you have reached Athens, or perhaps Rhodes. Choose any state you fancy. How does it matter what its character may be? You will be bringing to it your own. Suppose that you hold wealth to be a good. Poverty will then distress you, and, which is most pitiable, it will be an imaginary poverty. For you may be rich, and nevertheless, because your neighbor is richer, you suppose yourself to be poor exactly by the same amount in which you fall short of your neighbor. You may deem official position a good. You will be vexed at another's appointment or reappointment to the consulship. You will be jealous whenever you see a name several times in the state records. Your ambition will be so frenzied that you will regard yourself last in the race if there is anyone in front of you. Or you may rate death as the worst of evils, although there is really no evil therein except that which precedes death's coming, fear. You will be frightened out of your wits, not only by real but by fancied dangers, and will be tossed forever on the sea of illusion. What benefit will it be to have threaded all the towns of Argolis, a fugitive through midmost press of foes? For peace itself will furnish further apprehension. Even in the midst of safety you will have no confidence if your mind has once been given a shock. Once it has acquired the habit of blind panic, it is incapable of providing even for its own safety. For it does not avoid danger, but runs away. Yet we are more exposed to danger when we turn our backs. You may judge it the most grievous of ills to lose any of those you love, while all the same this would be no less foolish than weeping, because the trees which charm your eye and adorn your home lose their foliage. Regard everything that pleases you as if it were a flourishing plant. Make the most of it while it is in leaf, for different plants at different seasons must fall and die. But just as the loss of leaves is a light thing, because they are born afresh, so it is with the loss of those whom you love, and regard as the delight of your life, for they can be replaced even though they cannot be born afresh. New friends, however, will not be the same. No, nor will you yourself remain the same. You change with every day and every hour. But in other men you more readily see what time plunders. In your own case the change is hidden, because it will not take place visibly. Others are snatched from sight. We ourselves are being stealthily filched away from ourselves. You will not think about any of these problems, nor will you apply remedies to these wounds. You will of your own volition be sowing a crop of trouble by alternate hoping and despairing. If you are wise, mingle these two elements. Do not hope without despair, or despair without hope. What benefit has travel of itself ever been able to give anyone? No restraint upon pleasure, no bridling of desire, no checking of bad temper, no crushing of the wild assaults of passion, no opportunity to rid the soul of evil. Traveling cannot give us judgment, or shake off our errors. It merely holds our attention for a moment by a certain novelty, as children pause to wonder at something unfamiliar. Besides, it irritates us, through the wavering of a mind which is suffering from an acute attack of sickness. The very motion makes it more fitful and nervous. Hence, the spots we had sought most eagerly, we quit still more eagerly, like birds that flit and are off as soon as they have alighted. What travel will give is familiarity with other nations. It will reveal to you mountains of strange shape, or unfamiliar tracts of plain, or valleys that are watered by ever-flowing springs, or the characteristics of some river that comes to our attention. We observe how the Nile rises and swells in summer, or how the Tigris disappears, runs underground through hidden spaces, and then appears with unabated sweep, or how the Maeander, that oft-rehearsed theme and plaything of the poets, turns in frequent bendings, and often in winding comes close to its own channel before resuming its course. But this sort of information will not make better or sounder men of us. We ought rather to spend our time in study, and to cultivate those who are masters of wisdom, learning something which has been investigated but not settled. By this means the mind can be relieved of a most wretched serfdom, and won over to freedom. Indeed, as long as you are ignorant of what you should avoid or seek, or of what is necessary or superfluous, or of what is right or wrong, you will not be traveling, but merely wandering. There will be no benefit to you in this hurrying to and fro, for you are traveling with your emotions and are followed by your afflictions. Would that they were indeed following you. In that case, they would be farther away, as it is you are carrying and not leading them. Hence they press about you on all sides, continually chafing and annoying you. It is medicine, not scenery, for which the sick man must go a-searching. Suppose that someone has broken a leg or dislocated a joint. He does not take carriage or ship for other regions, but he calls in the physician to set the fractured limb, or to move it back to its proper place in the socket. What then? When the spirit is broken or wrenched in so many places, do you think that change of place can heal it? The complaint is too deep-seated to be cured by a journey. Travel does not make a physician or an orator. No art is acquired by merely living in a certain place. Where lies the truth then? Can wisdom, the greatest of all the arts, be picked up on a journey? I assure you, travel as far as you like. You can never establish yourself beyond the reach of desire, beyond the reach of bad temper, or beyond the reach of fear. Had it been so, the human race would long ago have banded together and made a pilgrimage to the spot. Such ills, as long as you carry with you their causes, will load you down and worry you to skin and bone in your wanderings over land and sea. Do you wonder that it is of no use to run away from them? That from which you are running is within you. Accordingly, reform your own self, get the burden off your own shoulders, and keep within safe limits the cravings which ought to be removed. Wipe out from your soul all trace of sin. If you would enjoy your travels, make healthy the companion of your travels. As long as this companion is avaricious and mean, greed will stick to you, and while you consort with an overbearing man, your puffed-up ways will also stick close. Live with a hangman, and you will never be rid of your cruelty. If an adulterer be your clubmate, he will kindle the baser passions. If you would be stripped of your faults, leave far behind you the patterns of the faults. The miser, the swindler, the bully, the cheat, who will do you much harm merely by being near you, are within you. Change therefore to better associations. Live with the Catos, with Laelius, with Tubero. Or, if you enjoy living with Greeks also, spend your time with Socrates and with Zeno. The former will show you how to die if it be necessary, the latter how to die before it is necessary. Live with Chrysippus, with Posidonius. They will make you acquainted with things earthly and things heavenly. They will bid you work hard over something more than neat turns of language and phrases mouthed forth for the entertainment of listeners. They will bid you be stout of heart and rise superior to threats. The only harbor safe from the seething storms of this life is scorn of the future, a firm stand, a readiness to receive fortune's missiles full in the breast, neither skulking nor turning the back. Nature has brought us forth brave of spirit and, as she has implanted in certain animals a spirit of ferocity, in others craft, in others terror, so she has gifted us with an aspiring and lofty spirit, which prompts us to seek a life of the greatest honor, and not of the greatest security, that most resembles the soul of the universe, which it follows and imitates as far as our mortal steps permit. This spirit thrusts itself forward, confident of commendation and esteem. It is superior to all, monarch of all it surveys. Hence it should be subservient to nothing, finding no task too heavy, and nothing strong enough to weigh down the shoulders of a man. Shapes dread to look upon, of toil or death, are not in the least dreadful, if one is able to look upon them with unflinching gaze, and is able to pierce the shadows. Many a sight that is held a terror in the night time is turned to ridicule by day. Shapes dread to look upon, of toil or death. Our Virgil has excellently said that these shapes are dread, not in reality, but only to look upon. In other words, they seem terrible, but are not. And in these visions what is there, I say, as fear-inspiring as rumor has proclaimed? Why, pray my dear Lucilius, should a man fear toil, or a mortal death? Countless cases occur to my mind of men who think that what they themselves are unable to do is impossible, who maintain that we utter words which are too big for man's nature to carry out. But how much more highly do I think of these men? They can do these things, but decline to do them. To whom that ever tried, have these tasks proved false? To what man did they not seem easier in the doing? Our lack of confidence is not the result of difficulty. The difficulty comes from our lack of confidence. If, however, you desire a pattern, take Socrates, a long-suffering old man who was sea-tossed amid every hardship and yet was unconquered both by poverty, which his troubles at home made more burdensome, and by toil, including the drudgery of military service. He was much tried at home, whether we think of his wife, a woman of rough manners and shrewish tongue, or of the children whose intractability showed them to be more like their mother than their father. And if you consider the facts, he lived either in time of war, or under tyrants, or under a democracy which is more cruel than wars and tyrants. The war lasted for 27 years. Then the state became the victim of the 30 tyrants, of whom many were his personal enemies. At the last came that climax of condemnation under the gravest of charges. They accused him of disturbing the state religion and corrupting the youth, for they declared that he had influenced the youth to defy the gods, to defy the council, and to defy the state in general. Next came the prison and the cup of poison. But all these measures changed the soul of Socrates so little that they did not even change his features. What wonderful and rare distinction! He maintained this attitude up to the very end, and no man ever saw Socrates too much elated or too much depressed. Amid all the disturbance of fortune, he was undisturbed. Do you desire another case? Take that of the younger Marcus Cato, with whom fortune dealt in a more hostile and more persistent fashion. But he withstood her on all occasions, and in his last moments, at the point of death, showed that a brave man can live in spite of fortune, can die in spite of her. His whole life was passed either in civil warfare or under a political regime which was soon to breed civil war. And you may say that he, just as much as Socrates, declared allegiance to liberty in the midst of slavery, unless perchance you think that Pompey, Caesar, and Crassus were the allies of liberty. No one ever saw Cato change, no matter how often the state changed. He kept himself the same in all circumstances, in the praetorship, in defeat, under accusation, in his province, on the platform, in the army, in death. Furthermore, when the Republic was in a crisis of terror, when Caesar was on one side with 10 embattled legions at his call, aided by so many foreign nations, and when Pompey was on the other, satisfied to stand alone against all comers, and when the citizens were leaning towards either Caesar or Pompey, Cato alone established a definite party for the Republic. If you would obtain a mental picture of that period, you may imagine on one side the people and the whole proletariat eager for revolution, on the other the senators and knights, the chosen and honored men of the Commonwealth, and there were left between them but these two, the Republic and Cato. I tell you, you will marvel when you see Atreus' son, and Priam, and Achilles, wroth at both. Like Achilles, he scorns and disarms each faction. And this is the vote which he casts concerning them both. If Caesar wins, I slay myself. If Pompey, I go into exile. What was there for a man to fear who, whether in defeat or in victory, had assigned to himself a doom which might have been assigned to him by his enemies in their utmost rage? So he died by his own decision. You see that man can endure toil. Cato on foot led an army through African deserts. You see that thirst can be endured. He marched over sun-baked hills, dragging the remains of a beaten army and with no train of supplies, undergoing lack of water and wearing a heavy suit of armor, always the last to drink of the few springs which they chanced to find. You see that honor and dishonor too can be despised, for they report that on the very day when Cato was defeated at the elections, he played a game of ball. You see also that man can be free from fear of those above him in rank, for Cato attacked Caesar and Pompey simultaneously at a time when none dared fall foul of the one without endeavoring to oblige the other. You see that death can be scorned as well as exile. Cato inflicted exile upon himself and finally death, and war all the while. And so, if only we are willing to withdraw our necks from the yoke, we can keep as stout a heart against such terrors as these. But first and foremost, we must reject pleasures. They render us weak and womanish. They make great demands upon us, and moreover, cause us to make great demands upon fortune. Second, we must spurn wealth. Wealth is the diploma of slavery. Abandon gold and silver, and whatever else is a burden upon our richly furnished homes. Liberty cannot be gained for nothing. If you set a high value on liberty, you must set a low value on everything else. Farewell.